It was a night like any other when Alex dropped the bombshell. We were sitting on the roof of his old Victorian house, the kind of place that screamed mystery and charm, just like him. The moon was full, casting a silvery glow on his pale face. I had always been enchanted by him, the way his eyes gleamed with an otherworldly brightness, his cool touch, his strange habits like only eating out after dark, and his obsession with wine. Well, what I thought was wine for months. But tonight, the air was different. He was fidgety, avoiding my gaze more than usual, which was a big deal for someone who seemed eternally confident. "Lena," he began, his voice quieter than usual, but still holding that deep, hypnotic lilt. "There's something we need to talk about." I looked at him, feeling a tinge of unease. "What's up? You're not breaking up with me, are you?" I half laughed, trying to brush off the knot tightening in my stomach. Alex shook his head but still didn't look at me. His long fingers toyed with the edge of the blanket we sat on. No, it's nothing like that. It's just something important, something I've been hiding from you." I tilted my head, curiosity piqued. "Hiding? Alex, we've been together for over a year. What could you possibly have kept hidden for so long?" That's when he finally looked up, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "I'm a vampire, Lena." I froze. My first instinct was to laugh. I mean, who in their right mind would believe such a thing? Vampires weren't real. They were the stuff of horror movies and dark fantasies. But the look in his eyes told me he was dead serious. He was waiting for me to say something, to react. But I couldn't. I just stared at him, my brain struggling to catch up with what he was saying. "You're a vampire?" I finally managed to stammer, my mind still reeling. "Like a real vampire?" Alex nodded solemnly. "Yes, I know it sounds insane, but it's the truth. That's why I only meet you at night, why I never eat in front of you. And the wine I drink? It's not wine." My stomach twisted, and I felt nauseous. "Wait, you're telling me you've been drinking blood this whole time?" He nodded again, his expression grim. "I didn't want to scare you, Lena, but I care about you too much to keep lying. I need you to know who I really am." I felt like I was drowning. My mind was racing, trying to process everything he just told me. I had been dating a vampire for a year, an entire year, and I had no idea. "Why now?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Why are you telling me this now?" He hesitated for a moment, then reached out and took my hand. His touch was as cold as ice. "Because, Lena, I want you to be with me. Forever." I yanked my hand away, my heart racing. "Wait, what? Are you saying you want to turn me into a vampire?" Alex's expression softened, but there was a strange intensity in his eyes. "Yes, Lena, I love you. I want us to be together for eternity. We could live forever, see the world change around us, never grow old. Isn't that what everyone dreams of? Eternal youth, eternal love?" I stood up, backing away from him. "But I don't want that. Alex, I'm vegan. How could I drink blood? And I love the sun. I couldn't stand living in the dark all the time." He stood up too, his expression hardening. "You're being selfish, Lena. You're thinking about yourself, about your lifestyle, your preferences. But what about us? What about our future together? Don't you love me?" His words hit me like a slap in the face. Of course I loved him, but this was too much. He was asking me to give up everything I knew, everything I loved, just to be with him. It felt like a betrayal, like he was trying to control me, to mold me into something I wasn't. "I do love you," I said, my voice shaking. "But I can't do this, Alex. I can't be a vampire. I can't live that kind of life." He looked at me with a mix of frustration and desperation. "Lena, you don't understand? If you don't turn, then I'll have to watch you grow old and die while I stay the same. Do you know how much that would hurt me? How much it would break me to lose you?" I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "But that's life, Alex. People grow old. They die. It's part of being human. You can't just run away from that." We stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity. The night air was cool and the stars sparkled overhead, but all I could feel was the weight of the conversation crushing down on me. Finally, Alex broke the silence. I thought you loved me enough to want forever. I thought you'd want to stay with me." His words were like a knife to my heart. I did love him, but not like this, not at the cost of losing who I was. "I do love you, Alex," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "But I can't be something I'm not. I can't give up the sun or my beliefs or my humanity, and I can't drink blood. I'm vegan. I love animals. and I can't hurt them. He turned away, his shoulders tense. It's not as simple as you think, Lena. Vampirism isn't about choices anymore. It's survival. You won't have to worry about hurting animals. There are other ways to live. The hurt in his voice tore at my heart. Other ways to live? Alex, it sounds like you're trying to justify something that is fundamentally wrong. You're asking me to abandon everything I stand for. He looked back at me, desperation etched on his face. I don't want to lose you, Lena. You're everything to me. This world is dark and cold, and I've felt so alone for so long. You're my light. I need you to understand that I wouldn't ask if it wasn't so important. I wouldn't put you through this if I didn't believe it was worth it. I could see the anguish in his eyes, the pain of a creature who had lived in shadows, haunted by loneliness. I understand you're afraid, but we could make it work. We could find a way together. There are other vampires out there. We could learn how to live differently. And what about me? I replied, my voice trembling. What happens when I start craving blood? What happens when I can't even look at a fruit or vegetable without feeling sick because I'm supposed to be a vampire? He took a step closer, and I could feel the intensity of his gaze burning into me. You wouldn't be alone in this. We could figure it out. Together. Alex's passion momentarily wavered as he stepped back, raking his hands through his hair. You don't know what it's like to live this life, Lena. I've seen things. Things that haunt me. I can't even look at my reflection sometimes. I've lost everything. My family, my friends. They're all gone. I can't be the only one left. I need you. My heart broke for him. I could see the shadows of his past lingering in the corners of his eyes. But as much as I wanted to comfort him, I couldn't turn my back on who I was. I can't be the answer to your loneliness, Alex. I can't become something I hate. The tension hung between us like a thick fog. I felt suffocated by it, desperate to breathe. Alex looked defeated, his shoulders slumping, and for a moment I feared he might give up entirely. But then he straightened up, his eyes steely. If you won't join me, then what does that mean for us? Are you saying you'll walk away? His voice was calm, but I could hear the tremor beneath it. This isn't just about you or me anymore. It's about forever. It's about making a choice that will define everything we are. Will you choose me, or will you choose to live without me? I felt my heart race, each beat echoing with dread. You're asking me to give up my life for a fantasy, Alex. What kind of love is that? A love that demands my humanity in exchange for eternity? This isn't just a fairy tale. His expression darkened, and for a moment I saw a glimpse of something primal within him, a flicker of the vampire he was. You think I want this for you? You think this is easy for me? It's not, but it's the only way I know how to love you. How to keep you safe from the world. His outburst sent a chill through me, and I took a step back. Keep me safe, or keep me trapped. I turned away from him, my heart racing. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, emotions crashing against one another. Could I really be with someone who was asking me to become something I despised? I stood at the edge of the roof, staring out at the sprawling city below. The lights twinkled like stars against the night sky, and I felt an overwhelming urge to be a part of that world. The warmth of the sun, the joy of fresh air, the freedom of being myself. Lena? Alex said softly, breaking into my thoughts. You have to understand. I'm offering you a choice, but I can't force you. I love you, and I always will, but I need to know where you stand. I felt tears spill down my cheeks, and I wiped them away angrily. I don't want to lose you, Alex, but I can't sacrifice who I am for something I don't want. He looked at me, his expression shifting from frustration to sorrow. Then what are we doing? Are you choosing a life without me? I took a deep breath, my heart heavy with the weight of my choice. I can't be with you if it means losing myself. I can't. The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, the rush of blood in my veins. Alex's gaze was locked on mine, and I felt the depth of his pain. Then it's done, he whispered, his voice broken. You've made your choice. With that, he stepped back, his expression hardening. I watched as he turned away from me, retreating into the shadows. My heart shattered at the sight of him walking away, knowing that I had chosen my own humanity over the love we had built. The days that followed were a blur. I went through the motions of life, but everything felt dull and lifeless. I missed Alex, the late-night conversations, the laughter, the warmth of his presence. I longed for him, but I knew that my decision was the right one. I kept busy with work, trying to fill the void he had left behind. But the truth was, no matter how hard I tried, nothing could replace the love we had shared. I found solace in my vegan lifestyle, in the vibrant colors of fresh fruits and vegetables, and in the warmth of sunlight on my skin. Each day felt like a reminder of what I had chosen, and I tried to find strength in it. A few weeks passed, and the ache of loss was still fresh. I was at the local farmer's market, picking out ripe strawberries, when I caught a glimpse of him in the crowd. My heart leaped, and I felt a rush of emotions. But as I approached, I saw that he was with someone else, a woman with long dark hair and a radiant smile. My heart sank. I felt like an intruder, watching a scene I wasn't part of anymore. They shared a laugh, and I could see the spark in Alex's eyes that I used to see. The world around me faded, and all I could focus on was the pain in my chest. I turned away, fighting back tears, knowing I had made my choice. It took time, but eventually I began to heal. I started going out more, exploring the world around me, finding joy in the little things. I volunteered at animal shelters, nurturing my passion for veganism and animal rights. Every day felt like a step forward, a step away from the shadows of my past. I surrounded myself with friends who supported my choices, who reminded me that it was okay to prioritize my values. And yet, even in my healing, I couldn't shake the memory of Alex. He was a ghost that lingered in the corners of my mind, a haunting reminder of the love I had lost. One evening, I received an unexpected call from a blocked number. When I answered, a familiar voice filled my ears. "Lena, it's Alex." My heart raced at the sound of his name. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to sound composed, but my voice trembled. "I need to talk to you. Please, can we meet?" The request caught me off guard. Part of me wanted to say no, to shut the door on the past for good, but another part of me longed to see him, to understand why he had reached out. "Fine," I finally replied. "Let's meet tomorrow at the cafe." The next day I arrived at the cafe early, my stomach churning with anticipation. I found a corner table, hoping to gather my thoughts before he arrived. When he walked in, I felt my breath catch in my throat. He looked different, more refined, almost regal, but his eyes held the same sorrowful depth that had once captivated me. "Hey," he said softly as he sat down across from me. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The tension between us was palpable, and I could sense the weight of everything that had passed hanging in the air. "I've missed you," he said, his gaze locked on mine. "I've been thinking about everything, about us, and I realize now that I should have respected your choices." I blinked, shocked by his words. "You've been thinking about us?" He nodded, his expression earnest. "Yes, I thought I was offering you a chance at immortality, but I realize now that I was just being selfish. I never wanted to lose you, but I see that I can't force you to live a life that isn't yours." I felt my heart swell with emotion. "Alex, I still care about you, but I can't go back to that life. I can't change who I am for anyone, even for you." He looked down, his jaw clenched. "I know, but I want you to know that I respect your choice. I want you to be happy, even if it's not with me." We talked for hours, sharing memories and laughter, the connection we once had shimmering just below the surface. But there was a bittersweet undertone to our reunion, a sense that we were two ships passing in the night, forever altered by the choices we had made. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, I realized that our time together was coming to an end. I felt a mix of sadness and relief, knowing that we both had to move forward. "I'll always love you, Lena," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll carry a piece of you with me, wherever I go, and I'll always cherish our memories," I replied, tears brimming in my eyes. "You were a beautiful part of my life, Alex." We shared one last lingering look, a promise of what could have been, before I stood up and walked away, leaving him behind. As I stepped into the sunlight, I felt a renewed sense of freedom. I had chosen my own path, and while it had cost me a love I had once cherished, I knew I had to stay true to myself. In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in my passions. I explored new recipes, tried new activities, and even took a trip to a local sunflower field, basking in the warmth of the sun. Every day felt like a celebration of life. A reminder that I had chosen to embrace who I was, veganism and all. I met new people, made new friends, and slowly began to heal the wounds of the past. I realized that I had the power to shape my own destiny, to create a life that aligned with my values and dreams. And though Alex would always hold a special place in my heart, I knew I had made the right choice. Months later, as I stood in my garden, surrounded by vibrant greens and blooming flowers, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had found my rhythm again, my joy in the simple things. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I smiled, knowing that I had chosen a life filled with light and love. I would always remember Alex, but I was ready to move forward. Life was beautiful, and I was finally free to live it fully, embracing every moment, every sunrise, every bite of fresh, plant-based food. I had chosen to stay true to myself, and in the end, that was what mattered. Daniel Carter was a scam artist, but not just any ordinary one. He was a master of the con, a magician of deceit, someone who could charm his way into the hearts of his victims before swindling them of their hard-earned money. The thrill of the con, the chase of the unsuspecting victim, was his drug. He thrived on the rush of it all, living a life of luxury, funded by the trust of those who fell for his web of lies. He had many stories to tell, many faces to put on, and he reveled in it. But his latest mark would change everything. On a crisp autumn afternoon, Daniel sat in a cafe, sipping on a caramel macchiato while browsing through potential targets on his phone. His fingers flicked through profiles on social media, looking for someone ripe for the picking. A few clicks later, he stumbled across a post that made his heart skip a beat. A picture of his beloved grandmother, Martha Carter, grinning widely as she held a fake certificate announcing her as the grand prize winner of a fictional lottery. The post was accompanied by a caption that read, "Can't believe I'm going to meet a Nigerian prince." His heart sank as he read the comments, a mixture of concern and disbelief from family and friends. "Grandma, it's a scam," one of his cousins had written, but it seemed like her excitement had drowned out any caution they tried to convey. Daniel felt a wave of guilt wash over him. Here was his grandmother, the kindest woman he knew, who had always been there for him, falling for one of his scams. It was one thing to con strangers, but to exploit someone he loved? That was unthinkable. But as he continued scrolling through the post, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of admiration for her naive enthusiasm. Martha Carter had lived a full life. Widowed at a young age, she had devoted herself to raising her son, who would eventually grow up to have Daniel. She had always put family first, fostering a love that felt boundless. Now in her 70s, she found herself feeling lonely after her friends had either moved away or passed on. The internet had become her solace, an escape from the quietness of her home. She spent hours scrolling through Facebook, participating in online bingo games, and connecting with other seniors. Little did she know, the internet was also a dangerous playground filled with deceitful predators. Daniel decided he couldn't just let this scam go on. He called her that evening, putting on his best concerned grandson voice. "Hey, Grandma," he chirped, a hint of nervousness in his tone. "Oh, Danny, you wouldn't believe the luck I've had. I won a vacation to the Bahamas." Her voice was jubilant, brimming with excitement. "That's amazing, Grandma, but are you sure it's real?" "Oh, absolutely. I've been communicating with Prince Uchi from Nigeria. He's so charming and sweet." She gushed, completely oblivious to the warning signs. Daniel took a deep breath. "Grandma, I really think you should be careful. Sometimes these things can be scams." Martha laughed heartily. "Oh, sweetheart, I know a scam when I see one. But this is different. It feels real." As the call ended, Daniel sat back in his chair, feeling a mix of pride and despair. His grandma had fallen for every one of his scams, but now it felt like a race against time to save her from herself. After a sleepless night, Daniel decided that if he wanted to protect his grandmother from heartbreak, he would have to play along with her fantasy. He crafted an elaborate plan. He would pretend to help her with her prince and the vacation, all the while trying to steer her away from the impending disaster. "Okay, Danny," he said to himself, "let's be the best grandson you can be. Time to don your acting hat." He started researching the common elements of the scams his grandma had fallen for, from fake lotteries to overseas investment schemes. He even set up a fake email account pretending to be Prince Uche, complete with poorly worded messages and flashy promises. "Dear Grandma," he typed with a grin, "you are a blessing to my kingdom. You have won our lottery, and your travel arrangements to the Bahamas will be made shortly. Please send me $1,500 for processing fees." When he sent the email, he couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Yet, in the back of his mind, a sense of dread lingered. This was a slippery slope, and he was running out of time. Days turned into weeks, and the scam deepened. Daniel found himself immersed in his grandmother's world, playing the role of her loyal accomplice in her quest to meet her prince. Every conversation became an elaborate performance, complete with stories of love, adventure, and extravagant gifts that Prince Uche promised her. "Martha, you have to pack for the trip," Daniel said during their regular calls. "Don't forget your sunscreen and those cute sandals you always wear." "Oh, Danny, you're right. I'm so excited. He's sending me a beautiful dress to wear for our first dinner together," she squealed. Daniel's heart ached at her innocence. He was doing everything he could to protect her, but each day became a balancing act between love and deception. As he played the role of the supportive grandson, he was constantly reminded of the woman who had sacrificed so much for him. One evening, he found himself sitting at his desk, surrounded by the remnants of the scams he had pulled off in the past. He glanced at the framed picture of his grandmother on his shelf, her warm smile radiating love. A sense of guilt washed over him. "What have I become?" he whispered to the empty room. The turning point came when Martha received a phone call from a supposed travel agency confirming her arrangements. As Daniel listened in, he realized just how deep the rabbit hole went. The con artists behind the scam had caught wind of his grandmother's naive trust and were now planning to exploit her further. "Danny, they say everything is set for the trip. I need to send them another $2,000 for the flight tickets." "No, Grandma, you can't send them that money. They're just trying to take advantage of you." Daniel's heart raced as he fought to protect her. "Oh, darling, but I've already sent them money. I can't back out now. This is my chance for happiness." Her voice trembled with desperation. For the first time, Daniel felt completely powerless. He realized that this was no longer just a game. It was a race against time to save her. Determined to end the charade, Daniel devised a plan to confront his grandmother. He invited her over for dinner, hoping to reason with her without the distractions of the outside world. When she arrived, he had set up a beautiful table with candles and her favorite dishes. "Grandma, can we talk?" he began, his voice soft yet firm. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something important. I know about Prince Uche and the vacation." Martha's face lit up. "Oh, isn't he wonderful? He's just so charming." "No, Grandma. He's a scam artist. They're taking your money and you're going to get hurt." Her smile faded, and for a moment, her eyes reflected a mix of confusion and hurt. "Daniel, how could you say that? He loves me." "Grandma, he doesn't love you. He's after your money. Please let me help you." The room fell silent as Martha processed his words. The reality of her situation began to sink in, and Daniel could see the cracks in her facade. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "But I thought I was finally going to be happy." With each passing day, Daniel tried to help his grandmother come to terms with the truth. He took her to the local community center, where she could meet other seniors and engage in activities that distracted her from her heartbreak. Slowly she began to recover, but Daniel knew that the scars would take time to heal. "Let's take a trip to the beach," he suggested one afternoon, trying to lift her spirits. "We can make our own memories, without any princes involved." Martha smiled weakly, but she appreciated the gesture. They spent the day at the beach, collecting seashells, building sandcastles, and reminiscing about old family vacations. For the first time in weeks, Daniel felt hope as he watched his grandmother laugh, the sound like music to his ears. As the weeks turned into months, Daniel continued to support Martha in her recovery. He introduced her to online courses, allowing her to learn new skills and connect with other people. They discovered a newfound bond, one that strengthened through their shared experiences. Then one day, while going through her emails, Martha stumbled upon an invitation to a local community event, a fundraiser for a children's charity. "Danny, look, we should go together," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "That sounds like a great idea, Grandma," he replied, surprised at her enthusiasm. At the event, Martha met new friends, shared stories, and even helped organize a silent auction. Her spirit, once dulled by betrayal, began to shine brightly again. Daniel watched in awe as she transformed into the woman he remembered, vibrant, joyful, and full of life. But the shadows of the past still loomed. One day, Daniel received a call from a private investigator he had hired to track down the scam artists. "We've located the people behind the Nigerian prince scam," the investigator said. "They're operating in a nearby city, and we believe they're planning to target more victims." Daniel's blood ran cold. He couldn't let them hurt anyone else. With a heavy heart, he realized that he had to confront the very people who had taken advantage of his grandmother. He devised a plan to expose them. Gathering evidence and rallying local authorities, he and his grandmother took action. They organized a community meeting to educate others about the dangers of scams. With Martha by his side, Daniel stood before a crowd, his heart racing. "Don't let these scammers rob you of your happiness," he urged. "We have the power to protect ourselves and each other." As the crowd listened intently, Martha spoke up, sharing her story. "I thought I was alone in this, but together we can stand against the deceit and lies." Her words resonated with those present, creating a sense of unity. The day finally came when Daniel and the authorities confronted the scammers. Under the cover of darkness, they arrived at the rundown building where the operation was based. Adrenaline coursed through Daniel's veins as he prepared for the showdown. The police arrested several individuals, dismantling the operation that had wreaked havoc on so many lives, including his grandmother's. As Daniel watched the handcuffed scammers being led away, he felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. They had fought back against the darkness, reclaiming not only Martha's dignity, but the dignity of countless others who had fallen victim to their tricks. Months later, Daniel and Martha sat on the porch of her home, watching the sunset over the horizon. The air was warm, filled with the scent of blooming flowers. They shared stories and laughter, their bond stronger than ever. "Danny, I can't thank you enough for everything," Martha said, her voice filled with warmth. "You've been my rock." "I just want you to be happy, Grandma. I'll always be here for you," he replied, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. In that moment, Daniel realized that love and honesty were far more rewarding than any con he had ever pulled off. He had transformed from a master scam artist into a protector of the one person he loved most. And though the scars of the past would always linger, they had emerged stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. With a renewed sense of purpose, Martha took on new adventures. She enrolled in a writing class, sharing her experiences with the world through stories. Daniel often watched her write, amazed at her ability to turn pain into art. One day, Martha turned to him with a sparkle in her eyes. "I want to write a book, Danny. A book about my experiences, about the lessons learned." "That's a brilliant idea, Grandma. I'll help you with anything you need." And so began a new chapter in their lives. Together, they crafted stories that not only shared the truth, but also provided wisdom to others who had been deceived. They held workshops, spoke at community events, and inspired many to stand against scams. Years passed, and the lessons learned became a legacy for both Daniel and Martha. They built a community focused on education and awareness, teaching others how to recognize scams and protect themselves. Daniel had transformed his life, choosing honesty over deception. He found fulfillment in helping others, using his past experiences to guide those in need. Martha's book became a bestseller, touching hearts and empowering readers to trust their instincts. One day, as they sat together reminiscing about their journey, Martha said, "You know, Danny, I used to think that winning the lottery would make me happy, but I found something far more valuable." "What's that, Grandma?" he asked, genuinely curious. "I found the love and support of my family, and that's worth more than any prince or prize." Daniel smiled, realizing that their journey had been about more than just scams. It had been a lesson in love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between a grandmother and her grandson. As they watched the sun set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Daniel knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, hand in hand, with love as their guiding light. With every new day, Daniel and Martha continued to grow stronger. They had become a beacon of hope in their community, encouraging others to share their stories and support one another. Daniel often reflected on his journey, grateful for the lessons learned and the love that had blossomed from the chaos. He had discovered a new purpose in life, one that involved helping others navigate the pitfalls of deceit. As Martha's book gained popularity, she received invitations to speak at conferences, sharing her story and empowering others. Daniel stood by her side, proud of the woman she had become, a symbol of resilience and strength. One day, as they sat together reviewing invitations for an upcoming speaking engagement, Martha looked at Daniel with a twinkle in her eye. "Danny, what if we turned our story into a documentary?" Daniel laughed, imagining the possibilities. "That could be amazing. We could reach so many people." Together, they embarked on a new adventure, working with filmmakers to create a documentary that highlighted the realities of scams and the importance of community support. As they shared their journey with the world, they discovered that their story had the power to inspire others to stand up against deceit. As the documentary premiered, Daniel and Martha stood in front of a captivated audience, their hearts racing with excitement. The film showcased their experiences, emphasizing the importance of love, honesty, and community support. After the screening, they received a standing ovation. People approached them, sharing their own stories and thanking them for their courage. Daniel felt a surge of emotion, knowing that they had made a difference in the lives of so many. Martha, with tears in her eyes, turned to Daniel. "We did this together, sweetheart. We've turned our pain into purpose." With each passing day, Daniel and Martha continued to embrace new opportunities. They became advocates for online safety, working with organizations to develop educational programs for seniors and families. As they traveled to different cities, sharing their message of hope, they often reflected on the journey that had brought them together. The bond they had forged through adversity had become a testament to the power of love and resilience. Years later, as they sat on the porch watching the sun set over the horizon, Daniel knew that their story would continue to inspire others long after they were gone. They had built a legacy of truth, love, and unwavering support. One evening, as Martha flipped through the pages of her book, she turned to Daniel with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Danny, I always thought that my life was ordinary, but we've created something extraordinary together." Daniel smiled, recognizing the wisdom in her words. "It's not about what we've accomplished, Grandma. It's about the love we've shared and the lives we've touched." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Daniel and Martha sat together, grateful for the journey that had transformed them. They understood that love was the most powerful force of all, capable of overcoming the darkest challenges. In the end, Daniel had learned that even in a world filled with deception, there is always room for redemption. He had turned his life around, using his past as a tool for change. With his grandmother by his side, they had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that love and truth could conquer even the most elaborate scams. And as the seasons changed, so did their lives. They embraced each new day with open hearts, ready to face whatever adventures awaited them, knowing that together they could overcome anything. Their story would be remembered not as a tale of deceit, but as a celebration of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between a grandmother and her grandson. Daniel had not only protected his grandmother's heart, but had also found his own, proving that sometimes the greatest victory lies in the love we give and receive. In the distant future, Earth had long been forgotten, its once vibrant landscapes reduced to mere memories. Humanity had migrated to other worlds, seeking refuge from the devastation that had befallen their home planet. Those who ventured into the cosmos left behind legends of Earth, tales of lush forests, azure oceans, and towering mountains. But as generations passed, these stories faded into the realms of myth. It was the year 3087 when a group of explorers, known as the New Dawn Society, embarked on a mission to rediscover their ancestral home. They traveled aboard the Horizon, a sleek spaceship equipped with advanced technology designed for interstellar travel. The crew consisted of 6 individuals: Captain Alara, a determined leader with fiery red hair; Kieran, the ship's engineer, whose mind was as sharp as his wits; Mia, a biologist fascinated by the prospect of alien flora; Jax, a historian dedicated to uncovering the truth about their origins; Astra, a skilled navigator with an intuitive sense of direction; and Orion, a communications expert whose curiosity about the past knew no bounds. As they approached the orbit of Earth, the view from the observation deck revealed a desolate planet, its surface marred by deep scars of time. The crew gathered, staring in disbelief as the blue-green orb came into view, a haunting reminder of what had once been. Alara turned to her crew, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "Prepare for descent. We'll touch down in the northern hemisphere, where the data indicates there are signs of life." With a nod of agreement, Kieran initiated the landing sequence, his fingers dancing across the control panel. The Horizon shuddered as it entered the atmosphere, plummeting through the thick clouds. They broke through to reveal a barren landscape, the remnants of civilization scattered like forgotten dreams. Buildings stood as crumbling monuments, overrun by nature's reclamation. The ship touched down on a dusty expanse, kicking up a cloud of particles that danced in the waning light. As the crew disembarked, a wave of silence enveloped them. The air was thick and heavy, a stark contrast to the sterile environment of their ship. They stepped onto the cracked earth, the soles of their boots crunching against the debris of a bygone era. Alara led the way, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Stay close," she instructed, glancing back at her team. "We don't know what we might encounter here." The landscape was eerily beautiful, a ghost of its former glory. Twisted trees, stripped of their leaves, stood like skeletal sentinels against the backdrop of a fading sun. The crew walked cautiously, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of life. Mia knelt beside a patch of overgrown grass, her fingers brushing against the brittle blades. "This was once a thriving ecosystem," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Orion pulled out a device, its screen flickering to life as he began scanning for communication signals. "There's a faint signal nearby," he announced, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It could be remnants of a human settlement." Alara felt a surge of hope. "Let's follow it." The group pressed on, traversing the uneven terrain. As they ventured deeper into the wasteland, remnants of humanity began to emerge. Rusted vehicles lay abandoned, their frames twisted and corroded by time. Jax picked up a fragment of metal, turning it over in his hands. "This is a relic of the past," he mused. "It's hard to believe people once drove these." They continued walking until they reached the edge of a once bustling city, its skyline a jagged silhouette against the orange sky. Towering skyscrapers loomed above them, their glass facades shattered, leaving only a haunting reflection of what had once been a thriving metropolis. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of loss, a memory of laughter and life that echoed through the empty streets. "Look," Kieran exclaimed, pointing to a nearby building that appeared less dilapidated than the others. "There's a structure intact over there. It might hold some answers." Alara nodded, leading the way as they approached the building. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit lobby filled with dust and debris. Sunlight filtered through broken windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. They stepped inside, their footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust that coated the floor. The group split up, each member searching for anything that could shed light on the fate of their ancestors. Mia moved toward a set of glass cabinets, her breath hitching as she discovered preserved plants, their colors muted, but still vibrant. "These are incredible," she exclaimed, carefully examining the specimens. "They're remnants of biodiversity, something we thought was lost." Meanwhile, Jack sifted through piles of papers strewn across a desk. "These documents, they detail the history of this city," he called out, excitement creeping into his voice. "It looks like they were struggling with overpopulation and environmental collapse." Alara wandered deeper into the building, her heart pounding in her chest. She entered what appeared to be a conference room, its long table surrounded by broken chairs. On the wall hung a large screen, still flickering with static. She approached it, her fingers brushing against the controls, and to her surprise, the screen illuminated, displaying images of Earth's lush landscapes. Forests teeming with wildlife, oceans glittering under the sun, and cities filled with life flashed before her eyes. "Guys, come here," she shouted, beckoning her crew. They rushed in, their faces illuminated by the glowing screen. "What is this?" Kieran asked, leaning closer. Alara's voice trembled with awe. "It's footage from before it all fell apart. Look at this planet. It's beautiful." Mia wiped a tear from her eye as she watched the vibrant scenes unfold. "It's hard to believe this is the same place we see now." Orion tapped a button, and the footage shifted to a news report. And experts warn that if we don't take immediate action, we will face irreversible consequences. Climate change, pollution, and deforestation are pushing us toward extinction. The screen went black, leaving them in stunned silence. "What happened to them?" Astra whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. They left the building, their hearts heavy with the weight of newfound knowledge. The city, once filled with life, now lay in ruins, a testament to humanity's hubris. As they wandered the streets, they began to piece together the puzzle of their ancestors' downfall. "We can't let this be our fate," Alara declared, her voice filled with determination. "We need to learn from their mistakes and ensure we don't repeat them." The crew agreed, feeling a renewed sense of purpose as they explored the remnants of civilization. They uncovered more artifacts, books filled with stories, photographs of smiling families, and everyday items that told the tale of a people who had once thrived on this planet. As night fell, they set up camp within the crumbling walls of the building. The stars twinkled above them, a cosmic reminder of the vastness of the universe. They gathered around a makeshift fire, their hearts heavy with the stories they had unearthed. "I wish we could meet them," Mia said softly, gazing into the flames, "to understand how they lived, how they loved, and how they fought for survival." Orion nodded. "It's as if they're all around us, their spirits lingering in the air. We're walking through their memories." Alara looked at her team, her heart swelling with pride. "We're not just explorers, we're witnesses to their legacy. It's our duty to honor them." The following days were filled with exploration and discovery. They ventured further into the city, uncovering more structures and remnants of the past. Each find deepened their understanding of the world that had been. In a library filled with dust-covered books, Jax discovered volumes on history, culture, and the arts. "This is incredible," he exclaimed, flipping through the pages. "These stories connect us to our ancestors in a way we never imagined." Meanwhile, Kieran worked tirelessly to restore some of the technology they found. "If we can fix this," he said, holding up a small device, "it might give us access to more information." As the days turned into weeks, they established a routine. They documented their findings, compiled data, and began to piece together a comprehensive account of Earth's history. Each member contributed their expertise, driven by a shared desire to understand their origins. One evening, as they gathered around the fire, Alara spoke up. "What if we create a record of our journey? A way to preserve what we've learned so that future generations can benefit from it?" The crew nodded in agreement, excitement sparking in their eyes. "We can include our discoveries, our thoughts, and the lessons learned from the past," Astra suggested. Alara smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Let's make it a living document. We'll share our experiences and ensure that Earth's history is never forgotten again." As they continued their exploration, the team discovered an underground facility, partially buried beneath the remnants of a collapsed building. The entrance was obscured by rubble, but they worked together to clear the way, their hearts racing with anticipation. Inside, they found a labyrinth of corridors, each turn revealing more forgotten technology. Lights flickered to life as they activated the power grid, illuminating the dark passages. The air was thick with dust, but they pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets hidden within. "What do you think this place was?" Kieran wondered aloud, his voice echoing in the stillness. "Maybe it was a research facility," Mia suggested, her eyes scanning the walls for clues. They could have been working on solutions to the problems that plagued Earth. As they delved deeper, they stumbled upon a large chamber filled with equipment and screens displaying data. Alara stepped forward, her pulse quickening. "This is it. This is where they sought answers." Orion examined the screens, his brow furrowed in concentration. "It looks like they were experimenting with climate restoration technologies," he said, pointing to graphs and diagrams. "But they were running out of time." A sense of urgency filled the room as they absorbed the implications of their findings. The echoes of their ancestors' struggles resonated deeply within them, igniting a determination to carry forward their legacy. With newfound knowledge and a sense of purpose, the crew dedicated themselves to reviving Earth. They implemented the technologies they discovered, using their skills to restore the land and bring life back to the desolate world. Kieran led efforts to harness renewable energy sources, while Mia studied the remnants of flora, seeking to reintroduce lost species. As the days turned into months, the once barren landscape began to transform. Green sprouts emerged from the cracked earth, and wildlife cautiously returned, reclaiming their place in the ecosystem. The air, once heavy with the weight of despair, began to hum with the sounds of life. Alara organized community efforts, bringing together the crew to share their knowledge with future generations. "We are the stewards of this planet now," she said passionately during one of their gatherings. "We must ensure that we protect it for those who come after us." The crew embraced their roles as caretakers, nurturing the land and sharing their discoveries with the world. They built small communities, fostering a sense of belonging and unity among the inhabitants of Earth. Their efforts rekindled hope, reminding everyone that life could flourish once more. Years passed, and the landscape flourished. Forests reclaimed the cities, and rivers flowed with crystal-clear water. The crew, now leaders in their community, continued to document their journey, ensuring that the lessons learned from the past would guide future generations. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across the rejuvenated land, Alara stood before a gathering of people. "We have come so far from the ashes of our ancestors," she began, her voice steady and filled with conviction. "Let us honor their memory by protecting this planet and ensuring it thrives for generations to come." The crowd erupted in applause, a chorus of hope echoing through the trees. They had transformed the wasteland into a vibrant sanctuary, a testament to resilience and unity. As time went on, the crew members began to share their personal stories, weaving their experiences into the fabric of Earth's new narrative. They taught the next generation about the importance of sustainability, empathy, and community, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. Jax became a revered historian, recounting the tales of humanity's journey from the brink of destruction to the dawn of a new era. His passion ignited a love for history in the hearts of many, inspiring them to explore the remnants of the past and learn from it. Mia dedicated her life to botanical research, working tirelessly to restore the planet's biodiversity. Her discoveries helped to reintroduce species that had once vanished, fostering a renewed relationship between humanity and nature. Kieran, ever the engineer, continued to innovate, developing new technologies that respected the planet and its resources. His vision of a harmonious coexistence between humanity and the environment inspired others to join the cause. Orion and Astra became known for their adventurous spirit, leading expeditions to explore uncharted territories. They uncovered more hidden treasures of the past, ensuring that Earth's history was woven into the present. As the years turned into decades, the new generation grew up knowing the stories of their ancestors, their struggles and triumphs. They celebrated the rebirth of Earth, honoring the sacrifices made to ensure a sustainable future. One day, as Alara stood atop a hill overlooking the thriving community, she reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The laughter of children filled the air, and the sounds of nature surrounded her, a symphony of life. "We did it," she whispered to herself, a smile spreading across her face. "We honored their legacy." As she looked out at the horizon, she knew that the story of humanity was far from over. It was an ongoing narrative, a testament to resilience, hope, and the enduring connection to the past. Years later, the descendants of the New Dawn Society gathered to commemorate their journey. They held a ceremony to honor the lives lost and the lessons learned, a celebration of resilience and renewal. As the sun set on the horizon, casting golden rays across the lush landscape, they raised their voices in a song of unity, echoing through the valleys. the echoes of the past intertwined with the promises of the future. A reminder that life, in all its beauty and complexity, continued to flourish. Alara watched, her heart swelling with pride as she realized that the legacy of their ancestors would never fade. Instead, it would continue to guide them, reminding them of their responsibility to protect and cherish the planet they called home. In the distant future, as humanity thrived on Earth once more, the stories of their past became a beacon of hope, illuminating the path forward. A reminder that from the ashes of despair, new life could emerge, and the cycle of existence would continue, eternally intertwined.